Here we go. What is going on? Cover One crew. Chris Chow's back again. Hope everybody's doing great. I'm fabulous as always because we're diving into that lab doing off-season scouting reports. And today we got Joey Porter Jr. We're sticking with the defensive backs right now because, I mean, there's a boatload of them, like I said. Joey Porter, I had him ranked as one of my best, okay? And, I mean, after you saw what he was able to do against Garrett Wilson in Ohio State the previous season, okay, yeah, Garrett Wilson still was, 7 for 82, but it was a very difficult 7 for 82. And that's definitely a contest. If you're looking to scout Joey Porter, definitely check that one out because he played his ass off and he played lights out, no kidding about that. But I love his game, and he is reminiscent of a current NFLer right now to me. Not necessarily completely on par, but I got a somewhat of a comp for him because he is very stout, very physical. So, I mean, what do you say we dive into Joey Porter Jr. and his scouting report from Penn State? You know, the best part of scouting defensive backs is that a lot of other scouts have certain biases and ways they view their talent. I do as well. I covet certain skill sets that I'm going to promote rather than, diminish because I think that the way the NFL goes right now, you need capable defensive backs, and that is one of the priorities in the NFL right now. It's quarterback, edge rusher, and then defensive backs based on how the NFL has morphed into this passing league, and Joey Porter is one of these guys who was one of my top defensive backs, still would be, no kidding. He graded out pretty well for me also as I dove in more, even though I did watch quite a few Penn State contests, in his time with Penn State. But I mean, nevertheless, it's going to those measurables, 6'2", 195. He is 22 years of age, 4 years at Penn State, 34 contests, 113 tackles, 2 for loss, 1 sack, 1 pick, 20 pass defended, and then 1 forced fumble. He's a good, talented player that you really look for at the defensive back position. Very physical type of character, and I mean, you can't hate any part of his game right now. There are issues that I will touch in the cons that I would like to see cleaned up, but let's start with those pros, man. Good frame, built, he is very long, and he's a physically, physical specimen. Just at the defensive back position, you gotta love that. And when I said I have somewhat of a comp, not gonna say it's true comp, but he reminds me a little bit of a J.C. Horn in that respect. The physicality just in their games alone is extremely similar. They are a dog on the field, and they look for contact with the wide receivers. That's what I'm saying. Extremely physical is a Joey Porter Jr. No kidding. He's got NFL bloodlines. His dad was a beast. If you guys don't know, Joey Porter Sr., former linebacker, played with the Pittsburgh Steelers and company. So, I mean, go back. The bloodlines are there, and he's not his dad, but he has some physical capabilities that dad did possess. It has transferred over to son, to junior. But his play awareness and reaction is great. I mean, he baits the quarterback. That's what I loved about his game a lot. He'll make you think he's out of position, and then he closes in very quickly, makes the play. The play awareness is there. You think he's out of position, and then bam, bam, he's right there on the wide receiver. And he's making a play on the ball. He's breaking up the passes. Yes, okay, the hands, we'll talk about those in the cons. But, I mean, he's very active in press coverage. Hence why I say, like, J.C. Horn-esque. Horn was very good in that department. Also, I think Joey Porter could be one of the better ones in this class at the press coverage. Also, he's going to be a very difficult defensive back for wide receivers to get off of because he is that active in press coverage. He does stay with his wide receivers in man coverage very, very well. There are some technique issues you would like to see cleaned up a little bit, looking for the ball a little bit more. He does, look for the wide receiver's head to turn a lot. I do see that, but he's typically running with his head back to the quarterback. You got to see that cleaned up from time to time. I mean, he doesn't bite often on the double move. I found that to be extremely solid, especially for a guy that I also want to know what his 40 time is. Very tough to say on film. Is he going to run a 4.3 or is it going to be 4.4 something? So that's kind of where I'm at with a Joey Porter. If he does run that 4.3, stock is going to be flying up the radar even more for me for a Joey Porter Jr. Very strong on contested catch attempts. I mean, he does, he high points as well as any other defensive back in this class that I have seen so far. And I mean, like I said, I keep going back to the Garrett Wilson film. He was challenging those high points anytime he could get them, man. So it's littered all over his tape. He does that extremely well. He's very strong. He's going to go and he's going to battle for that ball. And majority of the time, he's going to try to make a good pass breakup on that as well. He doesn't get targeted as often as you would have liked to have seen, but I mean, that's a positive in itself that they're actually scared to throw into his direction because he is making plays, man. He does play the sideline coverage very well also. Kind of mentioned that with Christian Gonzalez as well. It's different players, 110%, where Gonzalez is that more fluid guy. You got the more physical, tight-hipped type of defensive back. You want to say here more for Joey Porter, but he is still very good when it comes to that play in the sideline coverage, keeping the wide receiver to the outside rather than coming back in. He is very good on those slants, closes extremely fast on the slant routes. And again, so it's kind of like the baiting. You think that he's out of position, quarterback throws on the slant, and then it's Joey Porter to the rescue, knocking that ball down. He does that extremely well, closes on those slants with pure efficiency, absolutely phenomenal. He does have good blitz ability, and that's what you want to see out of a physical corner. He's going to take off from the corner. He's going to go after the cornerback. He's going to go after the running back. He does that pretty well, and I think that it could be exploited in the NFL quite a bit, especially with how he plays football, with his physical capabilities. He is very good in that department. Like I said, he is the son of Joey Porter Sr., and there's a lot of things good to be said about that with good NFL bloodlines that are coming into the NFL now. I feel old, man. When we got players I used to watch and you got their sons coming into the NFL, man, I'm feeling some oldness right now, but we got to dive into those cons because there are some. Lack of interception productivity is an issue, and I mean, it comes to the point of me saying his hands are clunkers, man, and that needs to be fixed. I was not impressed with his hands really at all. They're active. He's always trying to get the pass break up, but how many times he's just juggling and dropping balls. Did not really like that about it. Had to knock him down on some grades in that respect because it wasn't on point where I wanted to see it, but he is still a great cover guy, and I think he's going to hopefully be able to round out his hands in the NFL. But also on the lack of, interception productivity, like I mentioned, some games he just wasn't targeted enough to see any productivity come in that respect. So that is somewhat of a positive, but you also wanted to see something on film that would suggest that hands could improve. Just wasn't near enough for me to give him the, thumbs up in that respect, the check marks, if you want to say it that way. High point tackler, it's a big technique issue for me. And in the NFL, I think that it's going to be exploited quite a bit. You got to go a little bit lower to the center of gravity before you're locking up with the running back or the wide receiver, because that could be the wide receivers maybe not so much. I think he's got enough strength where he can take down a wide receiver tackling up high. But with the running backs, if you're not attacking low, majority of the time you're going to get bowled over, and I don't like that about his game. I think they will refine that in the NFL, no kidding about that, with some good coaching. Body balance, again, it's a little suspect at times, and I think I was drawn to it because of the stiffness in his play at times also. It's just the body balance and stiffness and the hips and everything, it's there. You can see it. He's not as fluid as I wanted it to be. But again, am I nitpicking a little bit? Maybe. But I want to see the fluidity be on the elite trend. I don't want to say it's not there or it can't get there, but right now for me, it's just not great overall for me to put it in the pros. It's definitely something you want to see him work on, get a little bit more loose in the hips, and maybe it's just straight up technique and how he does it, and he's going to improve very well. But again, the physicality does make up for a lot of these inadequacies, no kidding about that. More build-up speed than pure speed is how I see. So you're looking at the burst, you want to see the burst come out, where I do see the burst when he does close on the wide receivers. The top end speed is kind of where I'm looking at. So I'm really interested at the combine to see what his 40 is definitely going to be. That's going to definitely turn my head in that respect and say, okay, he can run that fast. It just doesn't translate on film as much as I would have wanted to have seen or had hoped. But it's still, it's Joey Porter. He is still one of the better defensive backs in this question. Again, top end speed is my question mark right now. I do want to see it in shorts. I want to see how fast he's going to run in shorts on the clock, because a lot lot of people criticize the combine and say, yeah, it's a pointless event. It really isn't. This is where you understand what they can do without pads, because that is important. Are they athletic? Are they fluid? Are they fast? You want to see all of this stuff. Can they catch the passes without anybody in front of them? These are important steps, man. I get it. Okay, a lot of people don't like the combine. I love the combine for scouting purposes because it does take away a lot of things you don't find in film study. So it's just an added extra piece that we put in the scouting reports. No kidding. But I mean, Joey Porter, nevertheless, he is a very good talent in my eyes, and I think he's going to turn into a very quality NFL defensive back in this league. But for grading purposes, like I said, the hands did drop him down just a little bit. The lack of fluidity did drop him down a little bit for me. 77.7 is my grade score. Still very high for a rookie coming into the NFL, and it's nothing but success I see for this man. I think, again, with a good defense, if he is put on there, we're here in Pittsburgh, is already falling in love with this man, obviously with his dad playing in Pittsburgh with the Steelers. You know that's going to come to pass, or the dad's going to talk him up and say, draft my kid. He's going to turn wonders for y'all in Pittsburgh, but I do believe in his game. I do think he is a quality defensive back, and he's got Pittsburgh written all over him. The physical type of corner that they play with, you team him up with a TJ Watt on that defense, and man, they're going to be extremely physical and beat people up on the field. No kidding about that. But Joey Porter Jr. to me is a quality guy. It was a fun tape to watch and dissect. No kidding about that. So there you have it. That is Joey Porter Jr., the son of senior Joey Porter. And I mean, what don't you like about his game? There are some things that all these players are going to have to work on, and I think that Joey Porter's are very much coachable. There is going to be some, again, the fluidity. I want to see this. That's why we watch the combine. You want to see if he's the fluid ability without pads on. You want to see if that's at least capable to happen. If it is, then that's bonus marks and bonus points. And then when he gets the pads on, why is he so stiff in some respects? That's kind of where I look at it. And the combine is very important in that respect, for me at least, to see how these guys can move without pads and I mean, assist us in our evaluation, because I mean, it is extremely important for me. But nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments, give me your thoughts. What do you think of Joey Porter Jr.? Are you a fan? Are you not a fan? Where do you want to see him go? Throw it in those comments, because I know Pittsburgh's calling, man. They want him on that team. But nevertheless, we'll see you next time. I am out.